Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyati Deshatarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. So, dear participants of Viplavah 2021, once again, welcome to the symposium. We are speaking from Sri Mayapur. All of you are at different locations in the world. And the last two symposiums were celebrated in person. This is our first one online for education. So I welcome you. We would like to begin the symposium now on time. And the first speaker for the symposium under the International Society for Krishna Consciousness Ministry of Education is our founder Acharya, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. So we will begin with his words.
Sure. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare. And Sutta. Sutta means education. Education means Vedic education, not this electrical education. No, that is not education. Nowadays, they have taken education, technology as education. That is not education. If I become an expert electrician, that is not education. Education, Pandita, the Chanakya Pandit in the lower stage of life, ordinary life, he said, who is educated, Pandita, he said, Matrivat paradareshu, paradabbesu, lostavat, atmat sarvabhutesu, japasati, sapandita. This is education. Where is that education? Matrivat paradareshu. All women, mother. Where is that education? There is no education. Therefore, in this age, practically everyone is a mudha, not educated. He does not know how to look upon woman. Woman should be looked as mother. Still, in India, unknown woman should be addressed mother. They have introduced now in the northern India, Bahinji. No, this was not the etiquette. Mataji. This is Indian culture, not Bahinji. This has been introduced now. No. Matra sasra dohitrava. Woman connection with man is as mother, as sister, or as daughter. No other relations. This is Indian culture. Matrivat paradarishu paradabbesu lostavat atvat sarvabhutesu japasyanti sapandit. This is culture. This is called srota. And teja, ojasa. Ojasa means strength. Just like Kshatriya, they are teja. A Kshatriya cannot tolerate that a man is being taught.
Hare Krishna, thank you for listening to His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada. So, however, did you say Maharaj, Hanuman Prabhu Maharaj in the pen?
Yes, let me explain to the participants first now how this symposium shall proceed. Well, first of all, we're grateful for all the speakers. And today, in the morning, first session that we have today, we have 4 speakers with us. We have tried to organize the symposium in such a way that each session presents a certain important message of education for Iscon. Ordinarily, we would have liked this very first session to focus on the goal of education, the philosophy of education, so on and so forth. But as you can imagine, some speakers have constraints. So at least this very first day is going to focus on those topics. I would also like to mention to you the modalities very quickly. All of you who are gathered here, we're grateful to you. But just to keep the symposium manageable, not everybody is going to be on video. We are going to keep the speaker, only the speaker on video. Every speaker has 25 minutes, within which 25 minutes is an outer limit of every speaker's time. Towards the end of, let's say, the remaining last 3 to 5 minutes, I shall come back into the video because those 5 minutes are for questions. So if you have any questions, you can please post them in the Q&A panel, and we will take them up at the end of the presentation. If you have any concerns, any logistical questions, they can be posted as well. They will also go in the Q&A panel, and they will be addressed by our team. Only questions that are pertaining to the presentation shall be taken from the 18th minute when the presentation starts to the 23rd minute, and then we'll try to make a transition. Our very first speaker today is His Holiness Hanumat Prashekar Maharaj. And His Holiness Hanumat Prashekar Maharaj has been one of the most prominent educators, and in North America, he's guided many, many devotees. And we invite His Holiness Hanumat Prashekar Maharaj today to come and speak to us about what should be the goal of education. Maharaj, we would like you to please switch on your video.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
Okay.
Could you please switch on your video, Maharaj?
I'm working on it.
Yes.
Okay. That's
Maharaj,
interesting.
we are now handing over the panel and the symposium to you for you to share with us the very important topic of the goal of education.
Okay. I just got the access to the robot just now. Let's see what happens here. Oh, there I am. Okay, you can see me now. Okay, can I share my screen? Yes, I can share my screen. Okay. Okay. Om Agyanate Virandasya Gnanjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shishi Vaishnava Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Can you see our screen? Viplavah Education, Iscon Ministry of Education.
Yes, Maharaj, we can see it.
Okay. So, of course, this is the Viplavah, announce our conquest, our very means of conquest, education. And Iscon Ministry of Education Global Symposium 2021. I have an extra one there. Okay. August 12th to 15th, as far as I understand. And our topic was goal of education. And of course, we are Hanumat Prashekar. And our own particular institution within Iscon is the Anjana Sudha Academy. Our webpage address is there, www.jayarama.us. And our GBC secretary is Balimadan Prabhu. So here we have, of course, this very, very beautiful BBT picture of Prahlad Maharaj giving education. And all the aspects are very interesting because we're looking at a clandestine education, you know. We're looking at young people, you know, and they're all children of demons. So there are many, many different aspects of education are presented in this picture. Okay. Now, I don't know how long this is going to take. Please tell me when you can see the next slide.
It's visible now, Maharaj. You can assume that it will come up, the technology is properly set up. We will only interrupt you or mention if something is not visible. So you can assume it's going on.
Okay, I assume that today everybody told me it was taking 2-3 seconds. So I assume you see the next slide, which is Srimad Bhagavatam 762. So with everybody, we can all chant together here. You with your microphones closed. Yatahi purushasyeha Vishno pado pasarpanam Yadesha sarvabhutanam priya atmeshvara suhrit. And this is Prahlad Maharaj's instructions to his demoniac students, classmates. And in the purport, Prabhupada extracts the essence here and saying, our eternal relationship with God can be revived in the human form of life. And that should be the goal of education. Indeed, that is the perfection of life and the perfection of education. And of course, sometimes we get caught up in the details of learning Varna Ashram relationships. And as Prabhupada was saying, we're learning Shilpa, livelihood, and all these other aspects, mathematics, arithmetic, reading, so on. But the real thing is how we're progressing through these stages. On the right-hand side, of course, we have this famous list. Ado Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, Nishta, Ruchis, Asaktis, Bhava, Prema. And of course, this is from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.4, 15 through 16. And it's in the purport to Bhagavad Gita 4.10, right there, accessible. So it's not something that we just kind of like, keep in the sky or anything else, but it should be very, very, very practical in the foreground of our own investigation, development in Krishna consciousness. We see it as a verse that Prabhupada paraphrases and cites again and again. Upadeshamrita, which constitutes first instructions for neophyte devotees, and therefore remains the basis for all other study. Prabhupada paraphrases it, and he goes through nicely, describing the different levels. So Prabhupada's saying, we must know, for Madhyamadakari, we must know the level of spiritual development of our teachers, our students, and our own classmates. Are they on Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, Uttama Adhikari level? And of course, here we see these details. It's the same thing, but it's divided into more details. So a very, very practical thing to see the development. And the goal of the school is not to go from the public curriculum in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade. These things, more or less in the Varna Ashram system, yes, there should be some education for this. It's going to come quite naturally if we're actually engaged in our spiritual development. But the real question, are we forgetting this, is what is our own level of spiritual development? And what is the level of the spiritual development of others? So of course, understanding each of these and applying them and talking about them is something which we should know if we're educators, and we should be able to apply in our teaching to other people. Of course, Prabhupada quotes this from Prahlad Maharaj right in the preface to the Bhagavatam. Okay, our next slide here. Okay. So this is the age of Kali. Haranama, Haranama, Haranama eva kevalo. And the process is Sankirtan, congregational glorification of the Lord, beginning with glorification, amplification, illumination, broadcasting, appreciating his holy names. And then, of course, there's Bhagavata literature in so many forms like that, and taking it out. So how to progress from Ado Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bharjana Kriya, Nartina Vritti. Basically, it's Sankirtan. The fundamental principle of our education, we're realizing is, we're doing a Light of the Bhagavat symposium for 3 days. We're in Boise, Idaho. Radhika Raman, everyone is. So we're doing a symposium on Light of the Bhagavat for 3 days. It's being very successful. And we're telling everybody, all the students, all the participants, that we're really here to try and give you this information, insight, motivation, perspective, so that you can teach this. As soon as that attitude is there in the student, if you can communicate that attitude, that we learn to teach, then it becomes Sankirtan. It's not the age of jnana, acquiring knowledge, but it's the age of Sankirtan. So then acquiring knowledge, acquiring systems of thought, like grammar, mathematics, they all can be proportioned in this process of Sankirtan. And we ourselves can advance very nicely at the Shraddha Sadhu Sangha until we're fully awake. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunaya. Fully awake, and then we can be full participants in the Sankirtan party like that. So it also means, even if we're not on the highest level, we can find our place in the Sankirtan movement. That's what we should be teaching people. I'm a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. I'm artisan. I'm basically very, very Brahminical in my activities, but I have some Shudra nature. So I like to do PowerPoint shows. I like to communicate with media, with manual artistic techniques, sensuous techniques. Somebody else, they may realize that they like talking about Krishna, preaching a little bit. But what really satisfies them is organizing presentations where other people, brahmanas, can present, where artisans can participate and help the brahmanas communicate. So Samvarna Ashram being manifest in terms of our internal development in Sankirtan. And along that line, then, very practically speaking, we go back right to the beginning of our whole basis, Tato Jayam Mudirayat, let it be announced that the Srimad Bhagavatam is our whole means of education. Prabhupada says that the duty of the spiritual master is to teach Srimad Bhagavatam to his disciples. Chaitanya Charitamrita, we're taking it as a Srimad Bhagavatam course. The Krishna book is the 10th canto. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is an entire summary from the beginning to the end. So much. The basis side, the Bhagavatam is the heart, and everything else is revolving around that. Okay. And what is the very, very first sentence? If you look at the preface, which we can look at as a preface to Prabhupada's entire life, his entire mission, is the Bhagavatam. He's the person Bhagavatam. So we printed this preface as a separate little thing, editing a little bit to what is our movement. So Prabhupada starts off, we must know the present need of human society. So the first word is education. Acquiring knowledge is the whole purpose of education. What? We must know what? We must know the present need of human society. If you're on the street book distributor, you're with people for a short time, contacting them one after another, and each one is different. So you develop your technique, right, of knowing what this person needs. Okay, this person is looking for somebody to yell at. It's not me. And so they're screaming about religion or something else like that, and you're keeping the iron smile, and in the end, okay, then a bond is established, and they'll take the brochure, or they'll remember that you're the enemy, and they're looking for you again and again, and eventually that will turn into a positive relationship. Or somebody else is ready to follow you back to the temple and take up Sankirtan themselves. that's the first proposition of education Prabhupada is presenting. We as Sankirtan people have to know the present need of who we're associating with. And so our movement has to be a very, very alive institution where we're going out in so many ways, approaching so many aspects. So what I would go to next is then a little example of how we're trying to apply this in our own particular life, in the beginning of Krishna consciousness. What is the goal of education? And maybe some of you know, we've kind of ended, we went through Vastu, we went through street book distribution, and we've gone through so many different things, and we're promoting all of them. But what's developed as our own particular modality and perception is especially this dialogue, this trying to build bridges between Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, who was born in 1875, and Professor C.G. Jung, who was born in 1876. We're doing many other things, interfaith dialogue, science and the Vedas, world classical literature, and they're quite popular. And our mode, of course, is often more academic, that environment, symposia, music, and quite successful. So down below in the little box you see here, Prabhupada, at the end of the very, very last, the discussion with Hayagriva and Shamasundar, the Prabhupada in Dialectical Spiritualism, Prabhupada said, of all of them, he, Carl Jung, seems to have the most common sense. Okay. So we kind of following on this, and this was our own nature. We actually graduated in psychology, first place prize. So trying so many things, we found out this is very natural for us. And so we've been investigating this community and approaching them and talking with them, for a long time. And just 2 weeks ago, finally, with Association of Radhika Ramana and everybody else, we finally had a video call with Shonu Shamdashini, Indian fellow, and he is now one of the deans of the London University, London School, the Department of History of Medicine. And of course, his focus has been Carl Jung from a very, very high perspective from the very beginning. And they have an organization called the Philemon Foundation, which is producing excellent historical, scholarly articles concerned with compassion and the point of religion and everything else is not rejected. That's the investigation. But Jung was not accepting ritual, karma, as religion in itself, and not even jnana, that we understand it. It had to come to the point of artistic, involvement in music, art, like that. And then God as a person remained something for investigation. Well, how far have his followers gone? So this is an example of, for example, like Lord Chaitanya. I think our next slide talks about this. So it took a long time. This is one point. Bhakti Swarup Damodaramars told us that Prabhupada said, every single scientist you make a devotee is worth 1,000 ordinary people. But it may take 1,000 times longer to do it. So somebody's making 1,000 devotees, on the street. Somebody's making one devotee after 6 years or something. Yeah. So find your nature. Every salesman has their own technique, Prabhupada says. Understand what is your way of communicating the message. And of course, we did have so much formation and training, which anything we are in this area, so much can be attributed to Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj, who fortunately is our sannyas guru, but also Shiksha guru, Astra guru. And within that, we see this mode of, wearing secular dress in so many ways, adjusting to meet their language, their environment. And of course, this comes directly from the tradition of Lord Chaitanya, who sat for 7 days listening to Mayavad philosophy from Sarvabhauma. But when he finally asked him, well, what's your opinion? He said, well, since you asked, And then there was no deviation. It wasn't impolite. But now there could be very straightforward discussion of reason and argument, and with a demonstration of mystical force in the end. So this is one area we're developing and taking this. And to do this, you have to know our culture. You have to know our philosophy. These are people who are not on the gross level. They're very, very subtle in dealing with drug addicts and so many other people. So they can see when you're bluffing very easily and so on. And it's very challenging for us that we know the Bhagavatam, we know the Virat Rup, we know the different levels of consciousness. We know, Sukanya and Chaivana Muni, and all these particular stories we're taking into heart. So as more we go through these levels, the Doshrada Sadhusanga with the Bhagavatam, and these stories are starting to take some place in our heart, then we can communicate heart to heart with different people at a very, very iconographic level. And finishing off here, the conclusion was of our first meeting that Professor Samdashini was quite satisfied that we'd done our work. We read the Jungian literature. When Lord Chaitanya was criticizing Shankara, he knows Shankara's Bhasya. And so we know the Jungian environment has taken us many years. We can discuss psychology with anybody on the planet at this point. And we've seen that, and they accept, okay, well, what's your idea? You understand our ideas. So he finally recommended what I'm showing you here, Psychology of Yoga and Meditation, which was taken from a series of lectures given by Jung in 1938 and 1940. And these have only very recently been transcribed and published with tremendous devotion to do it. And already we can see so many areas where we can talk to their realization from our perspective, and where we can also gain benefit. So that's our idea. Education means reawakening our relationship with Krishna, finding our place in the Sankirtan movement, and then preaching. And when we bought the book online, it was $21.08, which we consider, Jung would consider I forgot what it's called, something. Krishna's telling us you're on the right path. So that's 18 minutes, and we're finishing here. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for your association. Please accept our humble obeisances and help us purify our Sankirtan. Hare Krishna.
Hey, Tapaneswar Prabhu, you are muted. Can you unmute?
Thank you, Maharaj. His Holiness Hanumat Prasheka Maharaj has been a guiding force for the Ministry of Education for many, many years. And in many ways, as Maharaj was describing in the context of His Holiness Swarup Damodar Maharaj, I can describe in his context, he's also our Siksha Guru. Hanumat Prasheka Maharaj is our Siksha Guru in terms of guiding us in education. Maharaj continues to serve as an advisor to the ministry and brings in vision and high-level direction in consultation. Maharaj, there's a question from a devotee, Claudia Chandramukhi Devidasi. Her question is that she is a university professor. She does conduct a course on Krishna consciousness, but in university, most students just undertake the course for the purpose of passing the course. So how do we ensure that they also absorb in Krishna consciousness more?
I would say the most important thing is that we have to evaluate their level of consciousness. We have to know them individually. And of course, in the modern environment, sometimes there'll be 40 students in the class, and it's a ridiculous situation. So some ways, all you can do is just broadcast it, and you can't really, be sure that it's going to happen. But you try to get feedback, ask questions from individuals, look at the papers, and try to find those people and understand what their level is. In some cases, all they can appreciate is good food and good music. So you introduce that in different ways, and other people are on different levels. So I would say that's the most important thing, is trying to set some personal rapport with people. Okay.
Thank you. The next question, Maharaj, is that under the context of goal of education, what major projects should be adopted by Iscon Ministry of Education to minimize the dichotomy between the needs of an individual devotee and those of Iscon as an institution?
These are, very, very broad questions. We'd have to know, again, more details like that. I think what Tapa Mishra is doing is promoting studying of books. The basic process is Haranama. So the Ministry of Education should be promoting, the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And then along with that, naturally, then comes reading books, and then after that, all the rest of the aspects in terms of, Varna Ashram and organizing Ratha Yatras, which involves so many people, different festivals, building temples, and like we're going into psychology, so many different aspects. But the ministry should itself not forget that somehow or other promoting the chanting of Hare Krishna. And then Prabhupada is saying, if you can't do that, then read my books, study them, discuss them. So I think that's the basic project. And then after that, it depends upon local environment, local community, and local details. Therefore, administratively, we need regional representatives, a good system to go into the movement, the regional representatives.
Thank you, Maharaj. I also encourage Karunanidhi Prabhu to please be in touch with Maharaj offline as well, and probably have a more elaborate discussion. This question actually deserves a complete symposium to itself, and that's what we are doing. The whole idea is to churn this idea of what education should be. I'm very, very grateful, Maharaj, for your time, despite your busy schedule, and I know you have to enter very much into the next service. So Sankirtan, devotees, is the goal of education. All our efforts must take us to that point, as we understood from Maharaj, and also allow us individually to progress in our consciousness towards Krishna Prema, and institutionally structure ourselves that all guns point to that target. On that note, I thank Maharaj again and would like to invite our next speaker. Our next speaker is His Grace Yogendra Prabhu. Yogendra Prabhu has now been deliberating with a team of devotees on the framework and the importance of school education. Catch them while they're young. And if Iscon as an institution was to create facilities where everybody arrives and wants to be present, especially the young children, what difference could it make? So on that note, I invite Yogendra Prabhu, who's going to guide us through this presentation and his thoughts on what his team is working on with respect to a framework for school education. Yogendra Prabhu, I request you to please switch on your video.
Yep, I'm all switched on. Hare Krishna. Oh, can you see?
I cannot see you.
Oh, let me see if it may be because I'm using the presentation that I'm using is going to have my video. Can you see my face?
Yeah, we can see your
we can only see your screen, Prabhu, but that is absolutely fine.
Okay, that's what I wanted.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhu. I hand over the symposium to you. Please carry on.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here, and very thankful to the organizers for their patience with our group in getting the presentation through. And thank you so much. Please accept my humble obeisances, all devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to Organizing a Strategic Educational Framework for Schools. My name is Yogendra Das, and I am a teacher. I teach at a Waldorf school in Nova Scotia, Canada. I've had a lot of experience in many different schools. I'm a father to 3 children. Every one of them is under 8, and currently I serve as a member of the board of directors for Iscon Halifax. And I've received intensive training in attachment-based childhood development with the Neufeld Institute, which is based out of Vancouver, Canada, on the other side of the country. I'd like to introduce you to our team. Our team is called the Initiative for Scholastic Organization. Right now we have as our group His Grace Ramacharya Prabhu from St. Louis. He's a dedicated Shastric-based adult educator. We have also His Grace Parikshit Prabhu from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and he's the former principal of the Alachua Boys School. And we're also very fortunate to be working with Mother Praharna of Toronto. She's a Prabhupada disciple and senior leader in North America. She's our link to the North American Council. So we're working with her to have some contacts with the leaders. The goals of this presentation are really just to grow our team. We support and our support base. We need help. We need to grow our team so that we can carry out some of the initiatives that we want. And the second purpose is to just clarify our position and some of our priorities. I just want to give a little bit of background how our team came together. We all met at the Iscon 3.0 Summit, which was a summit where leaders in North America came together and they brainstormed different initiatives. You can see here, education, holistic education for all had a lot of talks, a lot of discussion around that. And we all kind of were drawn to this initiative to develop the best curriculum and future schools for children. For me, the impetus, I got the chance to convene a breakout group, and that's where we all met. So for me, the impetus to do that really came from a project that I completed for the Live to Give campaign, the Sankirtan campaign, where I coordinated a team of Motel Gita book distributors in North America to send a Bhagavad Gita as it is to all the Waldorf schools in North America. And I just wanted to quickly show a map of what that looked like. So here you see North America, Canada, United States. We didn't reach out to Mexico, unfortunately, but we got all of these schools. There's 164. A lot of them are centered, a lot of them are located on the eastern seaboard and in the Pacific coast, with a few in Hawaii. And when I was doing this project, it was just such a thrill to be involved in. But at the end of it, there was a bit of silence, and a question that came up for me was, well, great, we just did a nice service, we got some Bhagavad Gitas out, but I want to do something else, something more direct to impact the world. I maybe started thinking, okay, well, where are our schools, Iscon schools? And for me, it wasn't a geographical question, because I already mapped those. So here are the Iscon schools that I'm aware of, or the schools that are affiliated with Iscon in North America. And they're a little bit more sparse than the Waldorf schools, and that's okay. But it wasn't a geographical question. It was more of a conceptual question, like where is even the concept of a Iscon school? To me, I just didn't have that perspective. I didn't see, and I really just wanted to bring that to the group at the summit. So that's what I brought, and I was really kind of looking to find out, could we in Iscon improve at strategically organizing our pedagogical branch of the movement? And what I thought what was missing was that we really just need an essential educational framework to become a recognizable school movement. What works so well for Waldorf schools is that they clearly have a recognizable identity. They have their aesthetics, they have their ethics, they have their ways of knowing, and they have a harmony of pedagogical practices and principles. And those are all things that we would want as well and be organized around. in the Waldorf movement, at least in North America, all the schools are simultaneously and unmistakably part and parcel of a global movement for social renewal. And that movement for social renewal is technically called anthroposophy. I like to call it Iscon, because what I understand is that they're the International Society for Human Consciousness. And part of their founding principles is this: to be an association of people whose will it is to nurture the life of the soul, both in the individual and in human society, on the basis of true knowledge of the spiritual world. Sounds pretty familiar to me. And they're very successful. They have over 1,000 schools in 64 countries, and there's even more kindergartens in even more countries than that. So in North America, they have a sort of like an organizing body, I guess you could call it. And they have We Can for early childhood and Oz for like high school, primary school, like that. So we have Iscon and Krishna, they have We Can and Asna. Basically, the goal of Asna and Waldorf education, as far as I understand it, is that they want to nurture individuals who can serve humanity with strength of will, depth of feeling, and clarity of thought. And I think that we would all want those things for our students as well, to be able to go out into the world and serve in that way. Asna, we're looking at it as like a model maybe of organizing. They're a nonprofit membership organization, so all of their independent schools get accredited through them, but they're not a governing or management agency whatsoever. They don't enter into member schools' internal matters or decisions whatsoever. They are organized into geographic regions and with a vision of nurturing Waldorf education, advancing their principles. And they do that through supporting schools, to work collaboratively. They offer professional and resource development. Of course, accreditation is a thing, community outreach and advocacy. So given what I know and sort of how I was feeling about this, I was bringing this to the attention of the group. And I was sharing also one really key realization that I had, that I'd gotten from doing this Gitas for Waldorf project, was that some of the parents in my school who actually had never done, like, they know I have a spiritual life, and some may know that I am a devotee. Certainly some of my colleagues do. And what I was seeing was that all of these people, I asked for some help because we had to call all these schools, 164 schools. We wanted to get the names of the people we could address the book to. And so it was too much time for me to spend on the phone. I said to the parents, can you help me out with this? And 8 people came forward, and they, unknowingly did some devotional service. And I just thought, wow, if we had like 164 schools where parents were just investing, not that they came to the schools because they wanted to be devotees. Certainly many of the Waldorf parents, they don't come to Waldorf schools or send their children to Waldorf schools because they want them to be anthroposophists or anything. They just want their children to develop fully, naturally, and healthily. And who could really expect any more from that, from education, childhood education? Srila Prabhupada expected us to become organized so we could display the same kind of confidence, enthusiasm, and patience for education that I see in some of the things that I've observed in Waldorf. This quote particularly strikes me, that if we can develop such an institution for future children of the society or out of the society, it will be a great service to humanity. And that's what the team is really, we all agree on that point. And so as I kind of look into organizing education in Iscon, there's some, difficult and painful things which I hear, and it's challenging for me as a member, to go through life, to think about going through life as a devotee and not, deny or attempt to bargain with, the things that didn't go well in organizing education in the past, or to become like angry or depressed, that we don't have as much organization as maybe we could. And so we just want to move forward in a very appreciative way. And so I just want to take a moment to explain a little bit, how does our team conceive of organizing schools as a strategy? So there's a story by Aesop, the fabulist from ancient Greece. He tells of a crow who was flying under the sun and just baking in the sun, getting very hot, and he became very thirsty. So he was looking for water everywhere, but he couldn't find any. And so finally he flew over a field and he saw a glimmer of water reflecting the sun in a little pitcher. And he landed by the pitcher and found that the pitcher was too narrow for his small and short beak to reach the water at the bottom. So instead of spilling it and trying to get the water out, which would just be a waste, or to break the pitcher, which also would be a waste. And also, instead of just despairing and dying, the bird, with the help of Super Soul, I'm sure, started to pick up pebbles one by one, so that as the pebbles would go in, the water would rise. And so, the idea is that if we want something good to organize, we each got to put in a few pebbles. We have to use our brains, because the good that in life one most commonly gains arrives not by luck, but by using one's brains. And certainly as the water rises in the pitcher, it reminds me of this quote by Winston Churchill, that he said, "Cooperation is the tide that lifts all boats." So picking up some pebbles of wisdom from the words of leaders who I've heard from on this subject of organizing, I just wanted to share a few things about what they've indicated and guided us in terms of organizing a pedagogical branch for our movement. One thing that was really interesting was I heard that one of the leaders, when I asked him about where are we at in the future organization, this leader said, well, we're in the foundling stage. And I never heard foundling stage before. I've always heard fledgling stage, fledgling kind of meaning that, it's an organization that, or the organization is a bit underdeveloped, or maybe the organization is inexperienced in doing it.
So Yogendra, sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
Just, are you changing your screen sharing, or I can see in the map? Are you in that one, right? Or,
oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. No,
yes.
I want to get back to that. So can you see my screen again?
Yes, thank you.
I'm so
please.
sorry. Yeah, thanks for letting me know that. So I hope you caught at least the words. There were some images we probably missed, but so the foundling stage, that means that this infant has been abandoned by its parents and then is discovered and cared for. So one of the guiding indications is that, wherever we're at right now in terms of organizing for schools, we are wanting to be stewards. We want to care for that service. If we want to fly, get our organization back into flight, another leader told us that there will never be an independent continental organization of schools without the efforts that we put into it. So we got to get that going. Another thing that we heard from a leader was that the idea of philosophies is starting to become more prominent than a philosophy of education, which is really at the heart of an educational framework. It's our paradigm, and it's our essential understanding. And so I think what we're really aiming at is more integrating the insights that we have accessible to us, and not trying to just submit another paper about a philosophy that we think is appreciable. Another thing we heard was that the most growth comes from the will of the community, who actually gives the local support to organizing the school. So this seems like a good model for going forward, we heard. And this is something that we're keeping as a guiding indication, that we're not, just like OSNA is not a governing or managerial agency, we're not interested in doing anything where it's going to be imposed, but we want to really give the school local control. And I mean, that's already going on, but that's just sort of an aspect of the framework. And so finally, the other guiding indication is that this is actually a top priority issue for Iscon, at least for this one Iscon leader that we heard from. Organizing is a top priority issue, but it's not an easy one to appreciate alone. And here's a guy pushing this up the hill, and he says, "Gee, I just never get tired of this." We want to, work together, all to put the pebbles in the pitcher together. So now, what are our team's priorities? We want to get started on some work. We've come together as a group, and now we have some things we want to get going. But our priorities are to really just get the water in the pitcher. We want to taste the purity that's there in healing and sustaining and cooperating. We don't want to just despair and allow ourselves to become victimized by how we ever got to this point. We want to really appreciate what is there. We think that there's so many excellent things that are going on in our schools, and we just want to explore the best features. So when we're looking at a framework, we just want to look at what is already going on the best, and from not only our current schools, but from our past schools, what was working? Can we build on that? And we want to be able to understand what are the best educational frameworks that we have in terms of theory and practice. That way we can grow and come alive as a movement of schools. And then finally, we want to visualize a framework for future schools, that would involve sort of a strategic plan. How can Iscon make a contribution, an appreciable contribution to society at large through education? So we're going to have to do the needful, plan as far as possible, and just depend on the Lord's help for the rest. And we just really want to encourage anyone who's interested to add their voice to us. I'm the convener for the group, and so my job is really just to give people the space to hear. And we do have some projects that are important to us that we've determined, and I'm just going to quickly change my screen again and see if I can show you that. Just Prabhu, can you give me an indication if you can see what I'm showing you with this?
Currently we see your desktop.
Oh, okay. How about now? Oh, I think what I'm going to do is share screen. Okay, I know what to do. Thanks for. Now, can you see?
We can see it now.
Yeah,
Yes.
it should say smart goals. Thank you. So here are some of this is just an overview of the goals that we've committed to and kind of have a shared agreement around. These are like our common objectives. So we want to propagate the educational insights of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. We really, really want to work with the Ministry of Education and liaise with them and see, well, where can we support? Do you even want our support and help? If you don't, that's okay. You can just say so, and we'll end there. But we really like to work with the Ministry of Education. We do, want, to develop a framework, or at least a proposal for a framework, if only for a smaller region to start. We love to organize a teachers' conference so that we can have lots of voices, helping us with the development of a framework. And then, again, far off into the future, we'd love to see like a North American Association of Schools or a teachers' college, so that we can have a professional, group. So now I have to share a screen again. Go back to this. So those are our long-term projects. Now, how to deliver on those? That's something that we want to share. With the crow, he had to pull together all the intelligence that he could muster. So we have to accept that we're not that intelligent. But whatever intelligence we've got, even for good intelligence, we've been blessed with, and by our association together, we want to bring to bear some of our the insights of that we've developed through our practice, and also the insights that have been passed down to us by the acharyas. And we want to, sort of create something that's very practical. One thing that sticks out in my training is that I've been taught to understand development is a spontaneous thing, but it's not always inevitable. There's lots of things that can get in the way. I can speak from a lot of experience on that. But at the end of the day, if you provide conducive conditions for children to grow in, nature is behind everything in the material world, and nature will take care of all the developmental things that need to happen. So we're interested in delivering on things like, how can we educate devotees in our movement about education? We think maybe through things like posters like this one. So this is a result of some research that I've done into Bhaktivinoda Thakur's book called the Sri Chaitanya Shikshamrita. So in that book, he describes these different qualities of the soul, which are inherent to the nature of the soul. And you can see them represented as sort of the fruits around the tree. And then he also talks about, several activities that can bring out those qualities of goodness, or those inherent qualities. And just imagine having a school where, this was part of the programming for moral development or character building. And so all you did was, some of the activities he suggests are work for the welfare of others, learn to offer hospitality, participate in festivals and conduct them with the support of adults, protect and be responsible for the care of animals, experience loving relationships at home and have your needs taken care of by your parents. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is indicating that if we can do those types of things, that will help us, that will create a condition conducive to these qualities developing in the soul. And now just imagine if we had schools where even just the low-hanging fruits of justice and honesty were, the result in our children, that we produce children who were agents of justice in this world right now, which is so desperately needed. And if we created children who were honest, what to speak of going up to the higher fruits, like purity. And I conceive of that being not just purity of spiritual existence, but, purity of your character in terms of your, I guess, just to be very brief, varnashram, psychosocial nature like that. So who are we looking for?
Prabhu,
Haribol, I'm just about to finish. Last few slides.
Take some questions, please, now, because we're running out of time.
Okay, sure. That's fine. I don't see the questions, but
I will let you know. So one of the first question is, this is, there, of course, Madan Ajivani Mataji's congratulating you for this. And we would like to know how far are you in the development of this curriculum now, framework?
Well, we're not that far. I mean, like I mentioned, we need to grow our team, because this is not, just a few people pushing a rock up a hill. We need to work together and we need to just grow our team. So we're looking for some help, and I was just about to explain who we might want help from, but I've taken more questions if that's where we want to go.
So are there some timelines to these SMART goals that you have on your screen now?
I can share those with you. So we're looking for some help to, basically before we can propagate any of our insights in Krishna consciousness education, we need to get them all organized. And so we wanted to have some, by September, this coming September, we wanted to organize some key insights into groups like philosophy of education or pedagogy, curriculum, administration, governance, like that. That timeline isn't realistic anymore because of where we're at in the year. And some of our members have been dealing with different challenges and obstacles, so we haven't been getting that far, and we just really need more help on this.
Clear, Prabhu. Thank you. So obviously that's the foundation. That's the very first foundational step.
Yeah.
I'm just looking if there are other questions. Of course, devotees are welcome to connect with each other through the medium of the symposium. You're all online. You can exchange, chat with each other, exchange contact details. We would request you, Yogendra Prabhu, to please drop on the chat box your contact email address. So those who are interested in collaborating with you can contact you. So just as a matter of background, the Ministry of Education has created a platform on its website where you can do this, i.e. teachers, devotees can register there, and you can create your own projects. You can actually have the ability to discuss with each other in the form of a discussion forum and take it forward. So I encourage devotees to come forward and support. About schools. So His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, right at the very beginning of this movement, in the form of Iscon, focused on school, established schools, and he had a certain format in which he wanted the world to look up to our schools. And those were the Gurukulas that he established. And he expected those Gurukulas to fructify to a stage where the rest of the world would rush to it. They would want to send their children to it. If you look at Srila Prabhupada's writings, many a places he states. He states in the context of India, he states, establish a first-class school in Calcutta so that the Birlas of the world would send their children to study there. So our founder Acharya had a very lofty aspirations from his followers. We've had a start and stop kind of a phenomena with respect to our schools, and it continues to happen. So we really need to introspect why that happens, and I hope that this project, at least in its historical research, will determine that. Yogendra Prabhu, please be in touch with us. We have a lot of history that we can share with you, also have discussions. Only yesterday, I was with the school principal, the new school principal in Sridham Mayapur. And I was mentioning to Her Grace there that Iscon is an educational movement, and in places such as Sridham Mayapur, Vrindavan, and every center of Iscon, we should have the best of the schools that the world has to offer. We have the best philosophy, we should develop the best character in our children, and we should offer the best schools. Yogendra Prabhu and Ramacharya Prabhu, Parikshit Prabhu, and all the devotees who are involved in this initiative, very grateful. Several of these initiatives are happening in different parts of the world, and we've had successes in different locations. Encourage you to please be in touch. All glories to your service.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
so much.
Yogendra Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
On this note, and in the interest of time, I would like to invite our next speakers, and that's Krishna Nandan Prabhu and Bhagwati Kripa Devidasi and a Samhita, as I read on the name. So the team here is going to talk to us about online Gurukulas. So it just seems providential that I use the word Gurukulas, and today's time and age, mostly everything is happening online. So welcome you, Krishnanandan Prabhu, Bhagwati Kripa Mataji, my obeisances, and I request you to please take forward the discussion on online Gurukulas. A polite reminder to all the participants, please make it worthwhile for our speakers by posting your questions in advance. They will feel encouraged if you ask them, if you churn the topic a little bit. And also reminder to our speakers, if you haven't tested, and I'm talking about the next speakers, if you haven't tested your technology, please test it with our team ahead of time, how to change your screens, how to be present simultaneously, so that the talks can be available even after the symposium. So over to you, Krishnanandan Prabhu and Bhagwati Kripa Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu, for the opportunity. Thank you, all the organizers. So, as the name suggests, e-Gurukula, and as Prabhu said, it's more of online. So, before jumping into the topic, we would like to talk about the aim and the objective. The aim, as it suggests, like engaging the energy for the energetic. And how do we go about that? Is by channelizing the abilities of the children for the service of the Lord. So with this, as even in the previous, we saw like how Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya's focus was on bringing up more of Gurukula projects and how he encouraged all his devotees to bring about this Gurukula. And then, of course, focusing on the outcome, particularly the content is the thing, and the outcome, how the children become sober, upright citizens. So with that, I would like to move on to today's agenda. So we'll be covering it in 3 parts. How it started. Basically, when I say how it started, I want to clarify what is e-Gurukula and what is not e-Gurukula, so that the different channels that we use in educating the children are clarified, and then we can appreciate more on this e-Gurukul. And then the second will focus on why e-Gurukul. With all these different channels, medium, schools being like why e-Gurukul. And the third part will be the content and the challenges that we face and how to overcome and how to go about carrying out this. So I would focus on the how it started. Basically, we are part of Iscon Mira Roads Education, and under guidance of our spiritual guide, His Grace Kamalochan Prabhuji, he started the Sunday school. So all of us are familiar with the Sunday school, which will be an hour of the children, and it started from 2000. So the focus over here is to bring the students or the children attending the so-called education to the real education, where they can get association of these weekly classes. This was welcomed by all the children. We got around 50 vacation camps during 50 children during the vacation camp and 20 during the regular Sunday program. Then the next step was to expand the Sunday classes. So we trained in 2005, we started training teachers so that we can expand. And we came up to 30 plus teachers, and we could cover 800 students within this Sunday classes and vacation classes. And the focus was Bhagavad Gita and stories on Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, the next step we wanted to achieve is, while this continues to address the children attending the so-called education, we wanted to give a full-time opportunity to the children, the devotees who would like to have their education medium through our Iscon. So this Narasimha Institute of Children Education, which was focusing main on the Sunday classes, we expanded to Radha Giridhari Homeschool, where this homeschooling concept, as many of the devotees in Iscon have already started for their children. This was a community school where we bring the volunteers, the teachers, and then the children who wants to carry out their complete education. So this was again, the concept was taken with the National Institute of Open Schooling program that the government offers, and they don't have any constraint on what we teach. The basic criteria is we can have our own syllabus and follow their basic 5 subjects. So that was what we started in 2017. So this continued for 3 years, and as all of us know, this was more of physical presence of the students full-time attending 8 to 10 hours and continue their education. So in 2019, when the current situation started where everyone has to go for online, so this school, anyway, we continued online. Apart from that, we wanted to know how to address the children going for the so-called education, how to bring them to Krishna conscious, and how to give them more of the our Krishna conscious curriculum to them. So this e-Gurukula was started, and particularly elite students. When I say that, is like, as we will move on to the next part, we will see the hunger of the children and how to cater to that. So with this, I would like to move on to the next topic. What is, why e-Gurukula?
Hare Krishna. So basically, our motto is Prahlad Maharaj, Kaumarat Acharyat Pratyo. So Prahlad Maharaj, whose charitra, whose character is heard by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu minimum 100 times. So we are trying to inculcate the values in the children, like the qualities. Like Prahlad Maharaj had so many qualities, and apart from that, whenever he got time, he would always go and preach his classmates. And we see, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, Devarshi Bhutata Nrinam Pitrinam, that is by inculcating Krishna consciousness, the children achieve all the qualities. So basically, why e-Gurukul? Like as we see that the present situation, children are not able to come physically to attend the classes. So this is the way where they can, their spiritual hunger is satisfied. Overall, the parents, if you see around the world, they would like to have the best of both the worlds. Basically, as far as academics is considered, they feel the outside world, they get the best academics. So that is why this is one initiative, so that we are satisfied that we are giving the children spiritual education, as it was a desire of Srila Prabhupada that the children grow in Krishna consciousness. And the children, as far as they are concerned, they are like blank slates. They can take whatever we give them. That depends on us what we are giving them. So as far as we are seeing the children, they need so much. They can take in so much data, so much information. So that is why we, like as Prabhuji also said, we have the best things. We have the best scriptures. So that's why we should train them right from the tender age, where they can grasp in everything. And apart from that, there are parents. There are some parents like who want their children to be groomed in Krishna consciousness right from the very beginning, right from the womb, actually, like how Prahlad Maharaj was groomed from the womb. So the same way from childhood itself we should give. And what are the activities through online sessions we keep is uh, the same thing. It is actually Lord Krishna's pastimes, but for children in different ways, through dramas, through puppet shows, and through cooking and art. We try to make the children, enact or maybe bring out the pastimes, and they speak the pastimes in these different ways. And this is the way right early, like how we adults have morning program, which is so essential for our Krishna consciousness. Same way, this early morning chanting and this thing is very important for a child, so that the whole day goes very nicely. And apart from that, Mahajano Yena Gata Sapanta. We see our Acharyas, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and His Holiness Gaur Govind Maharaj, at the age of 7. This is what I would say is IQ, the intelligent quotient. At the age of 7, they knew all the 700 shlokas of Bhagavad Gita, memorized each shloka, and 18,000 shlokas of Srimad Bhagavatam, and 11,555 verses of Chaitanya Charitamrita, and they could give commentary on each verse. This was their caliber at the age of 7. So this what we understand, that the child is able to, of course, their level is the highest level, but still we can try to give as much as we can, because children are able to take that much. And then fan the spark. Basically, here we give a platform where the kids can express themselves, because the children, the moment we start, they want to share so many things, their art, their talents. So here we give a platform, because what happens when they go in the outside world, they are not able to express themselves with the wisdom they have. So here we have, through all the different performances, we give them a platform where they can express themselves, and then we encourage them, we appreciate them. Then what happens when the child is able to dive deep into that respective field in whatever they are good at? So like these are some of the things. And then about stories, it's very, I'll just tell a story. Once in a Gurukul, there were two children. They completed the education, and then after that, the guru said, for Guru Dakshina, they said, how can we serve you now? So the guru said, you go outside in the forest and get for me a pile of dry leaves which nobody wants to use. So the two kids, they went running in the forest, and they tried to find, they found a man had collected a pile of dry leaves. So they were about to take, they were so happy that they were going to give to the guru. But what happened is that man said, hey, don't take those. I have kept those leaves because I will powder them and you use it as a manure for my field. So then they couldn't take from that man. When they went further, they went, a sparrow was taking, there were a bunch of leaves. A sparrow was taking a leaf, but then it was taking for making its nest. So then through its language, it conveyed that I need these leaves for my nest. So then they didn't disturb the sparrow. They went further. They saw one dry leaf in the pond. They said, okay, we'll take this. But then in that there were two ants. And they said, how can we cross the pond without this dry leaf? So then they were very sad that we are not able to serve our guru. Anyways, they came back to their guru. And then the guru said that I'm very happy that you came, you didn't disturb. You understood that even a dry leaf, it is so important. The same way he wanted to teach the lesson to his students that this human body is so important. Please use it for Krishna consciousness. So this was the lesson. And apart from that, one very important note I would like to say is, as well as Radhanath Maharaj says, that if a child sits on a Vyasasana and speaks, everybody listens. So that is why we should, taking the teachings of all these great personalities, this is a humble attempt to impart education into children.
So moving ahead, what do we do in e-Gurukul? In e-Gurukul, we focus on 3 I's: inculcate, involve, and inspire. So first of all, we impart the knowledge, the spiritual knowledge through scriptures. They learn the shlokas and the bhajans written by Vaishnavacharyas. This way, we try to impart the knowledge to the children. And not only the children memorize everything and take all the knowledge, but we also want them to apply practically into their lives. So for that, apart from the 1 hour which they spend in e-Gurukul, we also engage them in so many activities throughout the day, so that whenever they get time, they're involved in completing their activities, their assignments along with their parents. So, and then the third is, after they get involved like this, they inspire others by taking such inspiration from Guru Parampara. They try to inspire and involve other children, their friends, and all the society, so that they take this message forward. So now let us focus on the portion of what the syllabus we take in e-Gurukul. So first of all, shlokas. So we see here one of the parents, she wants her children to memorize all the shlokas of Bhagavad Gita. So so nowadays we see that the parents, they want their children to memorize all the Bhagavad Gita shlokas. So many children, they are also expert in quoting Bhagavad Gita shlokas. They know the translations also. So like that, they are well versed in Bhagavad Gita shlokas. So something new in e-Gurukul, we want to introduce them to even Srimad Bhagavatam shlokas, so that they can. So what happens is, we have divided the e-Gurukul into 12 sections, Prathama to Dwadasha. So in each section, we have prayers from Srimad Bhagavatam cantos. Like in the first section, Prathama, we have prayers from first canto Srimad Bhagavatam. In Dvitiya, we have prayers from second canto Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, prayers means the prayers, like in the first canto, we have prayers by Queen Kunti, Shri Bhisma Stuti, Sanjalpamaya Stava, the prayers offered by the ladies of Hastinapur. And in second canto, we have Garbhodaksha Stava. Like that, in each canto, there are prayers recited by devotees. So, by learning these shlokas, the children also get importance of offering prayers. And how do we teach them those prayers? By having colorful slides with pictures, and not only the memorization of shlokas, but also along with the meaning, the translation by Srila Prabhupada. By that, they understand the meaning and how we should offer prayers to the Lord. And by this, each day we take one verse. So this e-Gurukul goes on every day. So by 1 month, 2 months, they learn 30 to 60 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. And we also have games, and where we put it as a challenge that you have to recite this verse. So for that, they start memorizing the shlokas. So like this, they dive into Srimad Bhagavatam shlokas. And after shlokas, the main important part of a children class is stories. Children love to listen stories, and we know that nowadays parents are more into giving Krishna pastimes and Ramayana pastimes. Since childhood, early childhood, they have heard all those. So there is a tendency of some children when they come to the class that I already know Krishna pastimes. So we need to show that the Lord's pastimes are unlimited. So in Gurukul, we focus because the children are of a high caliber, and they can take so many stories. So even stories of Brihad Bhagavatamrita in a simple story form, like they understand the relationship between devotees, how Gopakumar goes to higher planetary systems. So all that they can understand. And even the pastimes from Lalita Madhava and Vidagdha Madhava, that they understand how great are the pastimes of Lord Krishna. And we all can also take daily schedule of Krishna. What does Krishna do at this time? So like this, there is a book of Bhavana Sara Sangraha. In that, it is nicely given all the schedule of Lord Krishna, all the pastimes. So like this, they meditate on Lord Krishna's pastimes throughout the day. So this is the story part of e-Gurukul. And we also focus on Sanskrit. So Sanskrit is a very essential part to understand the scriptures, and every child, every parent is interested to learn Sanskrit. So first in the Prathama, Dvitiya stages, we teach them the basics of Sanskrit, like nouns, pronouns, and the grammar. The grammar can be taught based on Jiva Goswami's Harinamamrit Vyakaran. So normal Sanskrit in some schools they are already studying, but based on Srila Jiva Goswami's book, the children can grasp more easily. So Srila Jiva Goswami has nicely given words, the Lord's names for each grammatical term. So that is how we can teach them Sanskrit on the basis of scriptures. And now I'd like to show one example how we have done with the students. I'm playing a video.
Hare Krishna. Today, the students of e-Gurukul, Narsimha Institute for Children Education and Education Wing of Iscon Mira Road will be presenting another story in Sanskrit language. The story is How Krishna Kills Trinavrata. Trinavrata Siravadha. Ekha Rakshasah Chakravartasya Rupe Asti. Krishna Agachati. Krishna Chakravartena Gritasti. Yashoda Koshati.
This is another, those were smaller group of children. These are elderly group of children.
Iscon Mira Road will be presenting a story in Sanskrit language. Adya Vayam Mahabharatah Vishayam Adhikritya Ekam Lagu Katha Prastapayamaha. Bhimasenaha Anjaneyaha Cha.
एकदा पांडवा वनवास निर्बंधिता आसन् ते रमणीयेषु काननेषु निवासम् अकुर्वन् एकदा द्रौपदी वायुना आनीतं सुन्दरं पुष्पम् एकम् अपश्यत् तस्य पुष्पस्य गन्धम् आग्रह्य अमुह्यत् तथा सा द्रौपदी पत्नी भीमसेन अवदत् एतः शानि रमणीयानि पुष्पाणि बहुनि मह्यम् आनयतु इति भीमसेनः अहमेव लोके.
So like this we see that they are learning Sanskrit. In Krishna's, the Lord's pastimes, they are narrating in Sanskrit line by line. And also in Sanskrit, we focus on the chanda, finding the meter of the shloka. So we normally see that the children have memorized the Bhagavad Gita shlokas. Now we go deeper into the shlokas, like finding what is the meter of the shloka. So like this, they separate out the syllables and they find out the meter. So like this, the children learn more nicely the shlokas. And then we also have special topics because shlokas, bhajan, the children want to learn more new topics. So we can also take geography. So what they know, real geography is from 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the description of Jambudvipa and all the planetary system, the Bhuloka and what all islands, mountains. So they all have the geography based on Srimad Bhagavatam. And yoga, nowadays we see that everybody is interested in yoga exercises and they use for sense gratification. So while teaching in Gurukul, the children, they learn how to do yoga and use the energy for Lord Krishna. And many more such topics like cow topics based on the importance of cow and astrology. And we can, there is also a book where it teaches about Vedic origin, how the Vedas manifested, how the origin of Sanskrit language. So like that, they know the importance of what they are learning. And apart from that, we also have music. Children like to sing. So we teach, we can teach, there are so many ashtaka, there are so many songs written by our Vaishnava Acharyas. And also the daily arti, as the Srila Prabhupada has set our full daily schedule of the temple. It is nice if the children know those songs. And also some special songs like Shri Dashavatara Stuti, written by Srila Vadiraja Tirtha. That song is difficult and it is tongue twisting to pronounce, but it is children can learn it more easily, and it is scientifically proven to be good for their intelligence also. So like that songs we teach. And apart from that, as we from the starting we told, many activities like online itself, dramas, puppet shows. So the whole parents are also involved in making the puppets. So like this, we involve the whole family and storytelling. So we have near and around Janmashtami day, we have storytelling. So we assign each pastime for one child. So the child speaks on this that pastime. So like this, their presentation skills also improve and they are involved in learning those.
Hare Krishna. So thank you so much. Could we please take some questions now?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So Shri Yashoda Devidasi would like to know if this option for online Gurukul is also available for other different time zones around the world. Essentially, can they participate for some of the classes because they may be in another time zone or not?
Yes.
We would like to expand this e-Gurukul. So if we can contact, they can also start e-Gurukul for their centers. So we would like to share the syllabus, the portion, and all the materials and whatever we do, so that if when we share, they can also start.
Thank you. And clearly many devotees would like to have your contact details. So if you can please also post them on the chat forum so that devotees can be in touch with you and probably help, as you just said, expand it in other parts of the world. Another question has been, is this initiative same as the Sandipani school?
Sandipani school seems to be a full-time Gurukul, whereas this we are just adding to what their so-called education has. So this is like a 1 hour everyday morning program.
Before they go
Okay,
to school,
that's a very helpful clarification. So this is a 1 hour everyday morning program, devotees. Some devotees like me, they would have got an impression from the presentation that you're engaging children throughout the day. Therefore, the question around time zone, etc. So it's a 1 hour everyday morning program. It's complementing what may be happening at Sandipani school. Thank you. The next question, which is posted in the chat, not in the Q&A, but I'll take it up. At what age is this e-Gurukul starting for students?
The age group can be 6 to 13, best age group. But if smaller children are able to grasp and elder children want to join, it is open. But the best age group is 6 to 13.
So the preferred age group is age 6 to 13, and others are also welcome to join. So on that note, I'd like to thank Krishna Nandan Prabhu, Bhagavad Kripa Mataji, and Samhita Mataji. Devotees and participants, I think we perhaps just had the youngest presenter or speaker to our symposium just now, and very well presented. Very encouraging to see your involvement there. Thank you. And so unless any other team is able to bring forth somebody who's younger, we shall crown you the youngest speaker. More so because of looking at your enthusiasm in spreading education. Very, very grateful. And I presume that you're the daughter of the devotees who are sitting next to you.
Yes, sir.
And also want to thank the parents. I remember going back, what was it, maybe about 10, 12 years, downloading these stories on the Alvars, which my young daughter at that point still heard. And now, having heard your voice, Bhagavad Kripa Mataji, I would be not be mistaken to be, correct me if I'm wrong, it was you who compiled those stories and you would teach them.
Actually, His Grace Vaishnav Seva Prabhuji, who's running the Iscon Desire Tree, he encouraged me that Mataji, what you're doing, if you record and share it in the website, everybody around the world can use it. So then, because he encouraged me, I started recording whatever classes I used to take, and I used to share.
Yeah, I realized that, and I remember now hearing that as well. And of course, it would be a miss because we heard you tell another beautiful story today. So we wish you all the best in your project, and I hope that many devotees will be in touch with you for promoting e-Gurukul. There is a very, very strong need in today's time and age for these online learning programs. The ministry collaborated a year and a half ago with the Avanti schools in the UK, and we do have a ability to provide everyone a curriculum which you can use in your Sunday schools, in your daily routine to complement the education that your children have. If you like to use that, be in touch with us. It's structured from reception all the way to grade 9 and can be utilized. It's a self-paced program. So much like the e-Gurukul that is being conducted, there are many other programs. Another one that comes to my mind, and the founders of that program are online right now, Prana Prabhu and Krishnendu Prabhu, who established Bhakti Learning, which allows you to engage on the computer and go through the program as well. So very important topic, and very happy to have you here. And with that note, and thanking you three, Hare Krishna, I'd like to now invite our next speaker, His Grace Balimadan Prabhu, who's also our organizer today. So Balimadan Prabhu has been living in the United States, a very active educator. He and his wife, Anand Vrindavan Mataji, have been very active, and they're running various programs in his various services to the ministry. One of the service that Balimadan Prabhu performed for a few years is as a regional representative in West United States. Okay, it's a bit of a tongue twister, but yes, Western United States. And in his service, Prabhu has been very diligent, very responsible in ensuring that he presents his reports, stays in touch with the ministry. And we have recently requested now Balimadan Prabhu to actually take on a service to help us expand the regional representative network for within the Ministry of Education. Just a very quick brief. The ministry has regional representatives, a few right now, which you can see on our ministry website. There is a certain service description they must perform, and that is essentially a two-way communication between the ministry and the local yatras or regions. We are looking for more regional representatives. I'm talking to the point that Hanumat Prashekar Maharaj was mentioning earlier. But we also require somebody who is able to coordinate this activity. I've recently requested Balimadan Prabhu to play that role. Balimadan Prabhu is now accepted that service. He will be coordinating, managing, and in terms of reporting of the regional representatives, staying in touch with them, sharing with them what's happening, and overall creating proper structure around a regional representative program. Those devotees here who are interested to become part of it in their regions, in their countries, they may please contact him or the ministry. The process is we do talk to the local management, the GBC, and the regional management before we appoint a regional representative. So Balimadan Prabhu is going to talk about the regional representative program, and he's also going to share with us a surprise offering today that the ministry is offering to all the educators, especially those who are engaging in Shastik program. Balimadan Prabhu, thank you, and over to you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Can you hear me and see my presentation?
We can hear you loud and clear, and the presentation is crisp.
Very good. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, thank you. So thank you very much, Tapan Mishra Prabhu and ministry's entire governing body for allowing me to serve in the capacity. And just for introductions, I'm here, and thank you for the online Gurukul and other presenters we did. I know my wife also run Little Krishna Kids here, as well as Navadeep program in Iscon Silicon Valley. So today I will be presenting on the collaborative networking, and it gives us a systematic thinking in terms of how the collaborative thinking, networking, mixing, interacting with the devotees, not only in the one culture, but it helps. In professional career, it says the homogeneous system will bring immediate result. For example, if you are meeting with same type of mentality people, same culture, same race, same language speaking, you may produce some immediate good result. But a heterogeneous system, which is Iscon, is more diverse. We have from any Eastern region, Western region, different body color, different languages, different cultural background. Initially, it may be difficult, but in a long run, it really produces an impacting results. So when I was giving a little bit of quick snapshots here in 2019 or 2020 is mostly people remembered throughout their life for the pandemic virus. But nevertheless, the virtualization became the part of the game. As you know, Viplavah has been an in-person conference in Mayapur, and we are today interacting and doing it via the Zoom call virtualizations because of this pandemic in-house cases. And then in 2021, not only that people are thinking how we do, rather than the scalable and the openness platform, as well as extend the network. Extend the network means those who are just preaching in their local region, preaching in their local temples and all, it has become like extended. They are producing some good contents, which is used, adapted by various different centers, as well as also it is becoming global. So from Pan-American, the leadership team here from ministry, we have also very interactive model. We have also very engaging system. And at the end, I'm thinking by 2023, we'll have a sustainable program for the ministry, just like we are bringing a platform where every devotee's inspirations, their innovations coming to manifest, and people around the world is to adapt it to make sure that we serve Prabhupada in a very systematic manner. As we know, the online enablement has been a key factor, and it is really bringing values to the people around the globe. So, as Prabhuji mentions about the regional representative collaborations, I'm not going to technical details about what we are going to do, which definitely will set up something, but I wanted to set a stone of a conceptual base. That means what exactly the connections of the regional representative or the local representative or a global one. Nothing happens without being togetherness, without being collaborations. That means Utsahan Nishchaya Dharya, Tat Tat Karma Pravartan, in Nectar of Instruction starts with this, and which comes with the teamwork. Teamwork, collaboration, shared values is very, very important, because sometimes we think whatever I'm doing, in Iscon also there are many various projects and initiatives are going, but we are again and again doing something similar and investing the time and energy in the same thing, which has the result or the research work has been produced. And ministries, our job is to sharing those outcomes so that people don't need to again reinvent the wheel. They can really take from there and they can go further onwards instead of again bringing the same results, because research is moving step 1 to step 2 to step 3, not to again remain in step 1 always and bringing different things. So that means that we have to make sure that we overcome the level of the ego, level of the subconsciousness, and adopt what is the system, what is the results is available in the market, levels available by other our stakeholders, different temples in the different regions, different systems in around the Iscon. So we just need to learn what is already there and what I can get it. And based on that, this collaborations method, just like Viplavah, we conducted the Sastrik Sammelan last year. This give to sharing our values, to making sure that we are collaborating each other. Because unless we open ourselves, we collaborate, nothing informations will flow between the two individuals or two organizations. So, and not only that, as I'm mentioning to you, one important part is, what is that? Is in the, you may know the king of this jungle is lion, right? So in the jungle, lion, tiger, they are the king. Just like we are Brahmin. Brahmins means we are very powerful. We are just collecting means we are learning shastras, we are teaching people. So we have very finer intelligence in us. But in Kali Yuga, just imagine a lion is also killed by wild dogs, a hyena. Because of 10 or 20, they can attack it. What gives us these impressions to all? What it gives this? The only part it gives us the impressions to all of us is one Chaitanya Charitamrita shloka, which talks about Tathapi Bhakta Sangha hai Sukhollasa. Bhakta Sangha kare Nitya Vibhida Vilas. Association is the best form of happiness. And another verse, Chaitanya Charitamrita mentioned, Ananta Sakti Madhye Krishnera Tina Sakti Pradhan. Ichha Sakti, Jnana Sakti, Kriya Sakti. The willpower, the power of knowledge, and the creative energy. Because these three combinedly brings good result. Sometimes people may have willpower, but they do not have the system knowledge. They don't have the skills. They don't have the necessary tools to advance in their willpower system. And even though there is no creative energy in this age, you will be falling down. Maybe 2 years you'll progress, you'll fall down. So two moral of the story is that even though we may be advanced in Shastras, even though we may be a great teacher, even though we may be learned through the all Bhagavatam, memorize everything, nevertheless, still we should aspire to remain united. We should aspire to remain, no matter what our differences, we need to remain united, because that will be Sangha Sakti, Sangha Sakti. In Kali Yuga, that has been the message. So now, why I'm saying these things? The reason, because as we are know, we have Varnashram system in Iscon, we have different ashramas. It goes from one step to another, from brahmachari, go to banprastra, sannyas ashram, grihastha ashram. We have various systems. So in order to really comprehend from the mind, likely how, as we developed the Pan American University, Open University, which I'm going to share a few things in a minute. Here you can see the collective intelligence, which is coming from the Brahminical values, or a common purpose, or when we are writing down something. Likely these are the Kshatriya tendency, or a collaboration, is it? So this Varnasam system is also inherently embedded in our consciousness. Just like, Ravana has 10 head. When Ravana has a 10 head, one head is a Brahminical head. One head is an enjoyment of, different varieties of things. One head is a demoniac head. That means the 10 mind is there in Ravana. So similarly, in the Kali Yuga, we all of us has different sets of mind. We need to prominent the Brahminical mind, and that's why. And by doing that, by enabling that educational system, bringing different learning methods, learning techniques, so the people are interested and inspired and adopt those principles. So I'm very happy to announce and also share here, as Tapan Mr. Prabhu mentioned, and so I was talking to him last year to bring some, collaborative methods for the devotees. And I will tell you my stories here. But before that, we have in Pan America, which is especially Latin America, South America, and North America mix. We have various people like Gandharva Prabhu, myself, Gopigita Mataji, Mitravinda, and there are so many devotees around, including Hanumat Prashad Maharaj and Sesa Prabhu is based out here. We used to conduct our meetings, understand things. Last year also, we really set up various meetings. And no matter there is no agenda, but at least a meeting to something, it gives us very connections. We do not lose gap. Personal touch is very important. And also current support structure. We not only meet, we also had a call the teachers webinar or teachers meeting. Just 4 months ago or 6 months ago, I set up 23 or 24 teachers around North America. They joined it. So just when I took the charge also for the regional secretary for North America, we have very unstructured system of, there are Bhakti Shastri here and there doing. Right now, my goal is to every temple should run a Bhakti Shastri Bhakti Vaibhav center. And we are allowing, and not only allowing, we're inspiring the devotees to be a teacher, to get the certification, get the online TTC program, learn the things, get certification for Bhakti Shastri. And if you have qualified and nobody is there, you should become, so that we can bring more people, those aspiring devotees, to learn the Shastras. So there are a lot more has happened. I don't want to give statistics a lot. And also we have a different Google form, which we periodically in a 6 months in a year take census, means understanding any concern, what is innovations has happened, bringing it together. And one thing I have noticed, why I decided to go for, this is called Iscon Pan-American Educations.org. Let me share. Okay, so in this system, you can see we have 10 plus, 15 plus. When there are institutes and devotees are there, everybody exactly brings their registrations process. They create templates or website, the methods of teaching, Hanumat Prashad Maharaj, and we had discussed, and also getting how to harmonize things, how to unify. So the Shastric teachers do not unnecessarily spend on logistics, administrative work, and if something is already there, they can get values from the, can you still see my screen, which is the website here? Somebody.
We can see your website, yes.
Okay, good. So this is the website, and based on the time, I'm not going for too much. 5 minutes I will spend here in this website. This is called Iscon Pan America Education, but ultimately it will be part of the Iscon education because we are doing a prototype. So here, there are likely courses from location, courses degree, courses by instructions, and some of the programs, which is Pada Padma for Bhagavatam Canto 1 and 2. So in terms of little bit of navigations of the course by locations wise, let's see. Then you can see there are various centers and the teachers in each of the centers, just like we had Ramacharya Prabhu, he was there presenting with St. Louis Center, and there are also from the other areas who would be coming up and giving the teachers leadership. So we are going to add it. So that gives a system that how the particular sections of people would be able to get benefit. Anyone wants to enroll into Bhakti Sastri or Bhakti Baba program, we made a registration process simple, and also it will be centralized. But now the question is, when many people have developed to some extent, I would propose to, board examinations and Tapan Mr. Prabhu subsequently when you on board, it should be a mandatory when you award any centers, they must really follow certain guidelines and standardizations. So here, this is one example I give you how each of the centers or their centers, and then you will be able to go through each of their, for example, it needs the user ID and password. If you wanted to go through the particular centers, and you need to create an user ID password in order to make sure that the Bhakti Sastri, the module tools has been used. And you can see from Nectar of Instructions or for Isopanishads, Nectar Devotions, whatever the courses has been done and how much progress has been done. There are some announcements and various things which has been managed by the teachers, which will be here. For my courses, the students can also see their courses and they can grade. The teachers can also do their grading, etc. here in this particular one. And with different modules wise, they will be able to also make sure that they are providing announcement, recordings, and some contents, PDF files, sharing some of the information. So it has various tools when you navigate each of these sections. So it has the you can go to Iscon PanAmericaEducation.org Moodle, and from there also there is a link. I directly come over here, and if you go to a sample Bhakti Sastri one, in the sample one you will be able to create. Sample means then you'll be able to create for your own. So we have provided a template, so you create your own course structure for the Bhakti Sastri, and you adapt to customize in case of what classes, which day you wanted to do. You can maintain your schedule and things like that. So this is a very important part for the teachers to manage the Moodle, because ultimately some of the teachers are very competent. They have their own system and somebody else, but we wanted to make a centralized form so that everybody can communicate each other, and all the students can also share each other any concern, any questions, clarifications they wanted to learn from each other. And then I wanted to go to one more area in 1 second, and then I will stop doing things. So sorry, what is the one I wanted to go? Services, okay. So if I click on here, services, there is a portion called, in the services we have other services. You can enroll as a student, can become an educator. When you click and become an educator, many of the things it directly go to IsconEducation.org because it is when integrated here. And there is a certification, Shastri classes, register your center. There are many people who are going through all the form, email, so they can directly register your center to become a Bhakti Shastri and also submit new idea. I'm just taking 1 second here. There are thousands of questions. We are right now in the process of creating the sample quiz. So please, I will be going here just on and off. Please don't judge the answers. I'm making pop very fast. So it gives on the bottom 9-10 minutes. You have to fill up these questions, and at the end also it will show you, and just putting yes, no, and then just moving forward. Then it will show me the meaning controllers which conveyed Srila Prabhupada advocates. These or anger is Lord is serious. Let's say tongue can control. Writing only prasadam. Okay, so when you put it, the 10 questions are there. This is one example. We're going to bring at least Nectar of Instruction, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. All the sample quiz would be there for the devotees to get. So automatically it will send a report, and it will show here, okay, your score is 40%, is completed in 54. And also at the end, you will be able to see what is right one as a green and what you did wrong as a red. and then you will be able to come and redo the quiz. So there are various quiz we are going to give, bring it here, but I don't like to go in each of the section. And there is also email sent a report to me, and I would be able to see. Plus, there are also interactions between various devotees and various users who would be interacting through this portal, and it will be used through the, and ultimately it will be going this year, moving into IsconEducation.org. So we have finished our prototype. I am happy. I presented to Tapan Mr. Prabhu. He seems to be happy. So we are going to migrate to IsconEducation.org. So there are various other tools. Based on the time, I would pause here and take some questions and then move forward. So let me stop sharing. Okay.
Thank you, Balimadan Prabhu. Hare Krishna. We don't have any questions per se at the very moment. So we can use a couple of minutes. Just to be clear, the Ministry of Education does not intend to run its own separate version of a Bhakti Shastri program, a Bhakti Vaibhav program like that. We are facilitators, and the effort that is being put by the ministry here is to provide a platform where individual educators or institutions can utilize this facility. As Balimadan Prabhu described, many educators individually may not have the resources. So when we started discussing this project 2 years back, the genesis was, can we provide a resource to the teachers who may otherwise not be technically so savvy, something that they can utilize to start their educational programs online. Obviously, as things mature, then they can continue to do so many other initiatives. So this is just a facility, a collaborative facility for the educators. So there is a question, when can we accept your website to be accessible to all centers of Iscon?
So this website is accessible to all centers of Iscon right now. What I meant to say is that we are going to, it was exclusively meant for Pan America. That means not used for India or Europe, but I will be working with Tapan Mr. Prabhu. Maybe it will take at least a couple of months to migrate to IsconEducation.org, and it will be available globally.
Our target was to actually have this available to devotees globally by the symposium, which was to be conducted in Gaur Purnima. We faced several hiccups, as you can imagine. So yes, that's the idea. But please bear in mind, we don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. As you have seen, that it is still at its very nascent stage, the platform. There is a lot of energy being put in by Balimadan Prabhu, and we still have several other steps to take to make it more user-friendly, allow resources, etc., to come in like that. So yes, this was a prototype. The prototype is now being actively used. More devotees are being brought up. We'll be testing it further and then making it available to devotees for using. But please feel free to participate right away, because every person who participates will allow us to refine this service. Isn't it, Balimadan Prabhu? The more devotees who participate, it allows us to refine this service as an offering. Okay, let's see if there are. Next question, Prabhu, from Pradeshwar Krishnadas. Thank you for your wonderful presentation. Whether Bhakti Shastri course you conduct covered under Mayapur Institute?
Okay, let me clarify. So I am not conducting here about Bhakti Shastri. So we are in a ministry, we facilitate entire Bhakti Shastri in the world. And Mayapur Institute, Vrindavan Institute of Higher Education, Bhaktivedanta College, Govardhan Eco Village, they are awarding the certificates under one umbrella. Likely a federal system has many institutes. So there are various colleges in one university. So as a ministry, we wanted to facilitate all the centers are at least connecting centrally so that the students, the teachers are collaborative, and everything frequently asked questions, question banks would be systematically developed there. That's the reason. So it is also, Mayapur Institute is also one institute which is providing Bhakti Shastri as an autonomous center. And we are facilitating the whole activities for certification program. Do you want to add anything, Tapan, Mr. Prabhu?
No, Prabhu, you've covered it. I mean, there could be more added, but let's wait and see if there are other questions. The next is a comment or a question. It seems that Asia is neglected when it comes to Bhakti Shastri course. Question mark, why?
So I'm not sure why Asia is neglected, but we are encouraging here in America. From the GBC perspective, Srila Prabhu, we have asked him to send across to all the North American leadership team to encourage in their temple, to the temple presidents, to the local GBC, to encourage the devotees to take Bhakti Shastri course. So it should be applicable to Asia also. There should not be any exception. And we also encourage the disciples, the devotees should really go for, and also it is a mandated to take a Brahmin initiation. You need to really go through a Bhakti Shastri course. So it is not neglected.
Okay, thank you. So few points of clarification. Actually, Asia has one of the strongest Bhakti Shastri program presence, especially India. If you look at the Mayapur Institute, the Vrindavan Institute, Bhaktivedanta Vidyapeeth, immense amount of education, Bhakti Shastri education being provided now in Bangladesh. So I'm not sure why somebody has this impression that why this is neglected, but very, very popular. If you were to look at the 10,000, 12,000 Bhakti Shastri so far in Iscon, the largest number will be in Asia. But what we're trying to do, and this goes back 2 years to Viplavah 2019 in Mayapur, where Aniruddha Prabhu made a presentation, which I requested him, where every temple would be an oasis for education. So every temple must become an examination center. We are at 7:30 India time, and we must try to keep time and honor our commitment. So if there are further questions, please do send them to us. I do want to share with you, first of all, a thank you to everybody who attended. And before you go, we do have later in today's session, today we'll have another session. We have 4 devotees who are going to come forward, and very powerful educators who are going to come forward and speak to you. The symposium will begin with Srila Prabhupada's address, followed by Her Grace Urmila Mataji, who will address us on philosophies of education and its importance in Iscon. Then we'll have Balimadan Leela Prabhu, who will talk about the importance of Vaishnava libraries. We have an educator from South America who will come and speak to us about foreign language barriers and how to develop education in countries where you may not be speaking English. And then we have a unique contributor in the form of His Grace Vidwan Gauranga Prabhu, who will talk about Chatushpatis or Gurukuls, which are started in every different parts by individual Brahmanas. So I look forward to your participation in the evening session. And I do want to mention that we are trying still now, I have to check with our organizers. There was an attempt to have a breakout session. I think the technology probably is still not ready. Balimadan Prabhu, is that the case? Are you still working on the technology?
Yes, Roji, we can discuss offline because this will be to 7:30 p.m. So we'll have some time to address it. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't realize it was 7:30 p.m.
Yeah.
There was some request had requested for a breakout at 7:30 a.m., we apologize. We will organize it probably tomorrow or this evening. We're working on it. Thank you everyone for joining us, and please come back with full enthusiasm 12 hours, or actually, 10 hours from now, if your time zone still permits, for the next session of Viplavah 2021. I'd like to offer my obeisance to all who participated. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavabhyo namo namaha. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and his transcendental books. And if you have any questions with respect to Bhakti Shastri, etc., we have published an information bulletin on our YouTube channel, which talks about the system, Bhakti Shastri system. Thank you, and see you all again at 5:30 p.m. India time. If you can, please join us 5 minutes earlier. Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.